Greetings, everyone. In Johannesburg, it's morning. I don't know what I think in the United States, those who follow here are still sleeping. I'm not sure those that follow why in Asia, what time it is. I know that there are ZTP holders who have relocated to North America, to Europe, to Asia. Um, So they do follow. They do follow. Others will always ask Mapena, I want to apply. How do I apply? And we say, but you're already out of South Africa. How do you want to apply for a permit in a country where you do not live? You should apply for a permit wherever you are. But it's a fact. It's a fact. If you decide to relocate, say to the United States of America, you cannot come back and then try to apply for a permit in South Africa and then you want to go back to the United States. It doesn't work like that. The permit is only for a person that is a resident in that particular country, in this case, in South Africa. So if you were granted a special permit in 2010, along the way, you then decided to relocate. You must then deal with the documentation issues of your host country. So we take it that you have reduced the number of ZTP holders because you are no longer in South Africa. That is fair, isn't it? But there are others who still contact us, hey, Mapena, we want to apply. How do I submit my application? I'm in Ireland. No, stay in Ireland, deal with the documentation issues in Ireland. Fine. So now, what we are saying, for those that remained in South Africa, we think that the minister must seriously consider granting ZTP holders permanent residence and would outline the reasons. So in 2017, people that were issued with ZTP, there were 178,000. And that number has gone down. Last week, I can't remember, I didn't save the number of this comrade. He's my greatest critic. I know that he follows these discussions. So this comrade sends me a WhatsApp message last week. Says, Mapena, we have been telling you that people should not move to other visas. The minister now says those on ZEP are very few because many people have moved. Right. So every time there's a comment about ZTP, comes to my inbox and gives me a long lecture. And his argument is that I'm misleading people. Next time when he sends me a message, I will save his number so that I keep communicating with him. Now, the special permits were granted in 2010 for a specific purpose. Right, we spoke about cholera, that was in Zimbabwe. There was a inclusive government in Zimbabwe, and all of us, we were thinking that the political leadership was serious about rebuilding the economy in Zimbabwe. Then South Africa said, as part of its solidarity to the people of to the people and government of Zimbabwe, they will not do mass deportation of Zimbabweans that are in South Africa. Allow the political leadership in Zimbabwe to reorganize production, stabilize the economy. While the inclusive government, which was made up of 3 political parties which were represented in the parliament of Zimbabwe then, South Africa then said, we will keep Zimbabweans who are already in South Africa for 4 years. Instead of us, that was South Africa, instead of us deporting Zimbabweans, but we'll keep them in South Africa for 4 years as you work towards stabilizing the economy. Then after 4 years, these Zimbabweans will then will have no reason to remain in South Africa. They will then begin to go back home. because the economy will be stabilized. Because the reason why they came here, mainly it was not political persecution, it was economics. This is why many people took aslams when they arrived here, and when special permits were granted in 2010, they abandoned the aslam documents and they took up these permits. But what was envisaged at the time when the permits were granted did not happen after 4 years. So when government of South Africa was then reviewing, it realized that the expectation that the people were going to return did not happen. People were still in South Africa. He then said, okay, let's extend for 3 years and again 4 years until that famous decision, which was taken in November 2021, to say it will now discontinue. But again, the people are still here in South Africa. And now the extension, the grace period is up to 28th November, 28th, no, 28th May 2027, right? So a young person who came to South Africa in 2010, who was 25, single, 17 years ago. I mean, by 2027, this person will have spent 17 years in South Africa. Let's assume this person only came in 2010. He did not come in 2002 being a hold of an Aslam document. Just the person came in 2010. By 2027, when the grace period expires, this person will be 42. It is common cause that this person is now married, he has school-going children. So Action South Africa also contributes to this debate. You know, Action South Africa, led by Herman Mashaba, Mr. Herman Mashaba, contributes to this debate on the extension of the ZEP. So let me read part of that interview, which was done by Action SA member Lerato Ngobeni. He says, I quote, "We are saying firstly," okay, let me start from the top. It was a radio interview. It says, "Your intro is very apt in terms of our stance in this regard. You asked me what we'll do. In the statement that we released, we spoke about doing a couple of things, and I'm going to mention only three. We are saying, firstly, that there must be regularization for those who meet the visa criteria. These include people who have critical skills in scarce professions, legitimate employment, and family ties. We want this to be fast-tracked. The application process must be fast-tracked and proper visas must be issued. The second one is that we need those who do not qualify. We speak about humanity in this regard, the issue of Ubuntu, the issue of human rights. We need a graceful exit for them with assisted voluntary return for those who do not qualify. We want this to be time-bound and coordinated with the Zimbabwean government. It's very strange as to what is happening between our government and the Zimbabwean government. It's very unclear, and we need clarity and certainty in this regard. Thirdly, we believe that there should be special humanitarian cases for people like learners, children who are in long-term schooling in our country, and those with chronic medical needs for targeted waivers. This must be on a case-by-case basis, not these blanket extensions that we have seen the ministry resort to time and time again." close quote. So this these points that Action SA is raising, these are critical points. You will realize that based on these points, Action SA has moved away from this chorus or slogan, Abahambi. It now calls on government to critically apply its mind. One, on those that qualify for visas, which will know that those that qualify for visas are applying to move to mainstream visas. It talks about those, of course, it talks about Ubuntu, humanity, right? And the understanding that there are those that might not qualify for mainstream visas. But what Action SA says, there must be a graceful exit period. Graceful exit period, one might read these kind of extensions, which of course Action SA says it should not be blanket, it should be on case-by-case basis. Which then goes back to what the court said, that there must be consultation with the holders of the Zimbabwe exemption permits. Now, if you then read in between the lines, the solution in what Action SA is raising in accommodating children that are school going, like I said, that a person who was 25 in 2010, by the time grace period expires, this person will be 42 and has got the little kids that go to school. So in our well-considered view, the only way to assist these kids, the only way to assist those, even if you try to assist them to do voluntary return, they will not, is to accept that people have been here for more than, by 2027, they will have been here for more than 17 years. Like I've said, I know people that came in 2002, were on ASLAM documents, kept on renewing those ASLAM documents from 2002. Then in 2010, they got these special permits. So you add 17 years plus the 8 years that they've spent in South Africa. So other people have been in South Africa for about 25 years. These people that are on special permits. They are known where they are, right? We are not talking about new people. And we must underline this, that since 2010, there are more people from Zimbabwe that have come to South Africa. Because in the public discourse, when you talk of ZEPing, people think that we are saying those that came after 2010, in 2011, 1st of January 2011. Because a person who came on 1st January 2011 does not have a ZEP. So if you meet anyone in the streets, you ask them, when did you come to South Africa? Says 2011, 2012. You must know that they don't have a ZEP. So we are not talking about them. And they seem to be the majority now. So this is why we are saying to resolve all these issues that Action SA is raising, it will not be a harm to grant holders of Zimbabwe exemption permits permanent residence. We are talking of Ubuntu, as Action SA is saying. You are talking of humanitarian, as Action SA is saying. I just read you the quote there. So the special, the permanent residence will address all these issues on humanitarian grounds. As I move to conclusion, Let me then address what my critic, this one always sends me WhatsApp messages, says, Mabeno, you are misleading people. The Department of Home Affairs has a database of everyone who received a DZP in 2010. Now, if the government says every ZP holder must be granted permanent residence, we are saying we must go back to the 2010 database. Only for those that are legal. There are people, of course, who applied for DZP in 2010, applied for ZSP in 2014. They did not apply for ZP in 2017. These are considered to be out of the system because they are no longer legal in South Africa. I've met quite a number of them. They always ask us, Mabena, I did not renew my permit in 2017. This person is undocumented. So this person cannot fall in the category of those that should be eligible to be granted permanent residence if government decides to grant permanent residence. So who then qualifies in our view? One is a person that has in their passports or proof that the DZP, a ZSP, and a ZEP. That's the first category. The second category is a person who has these three and has a waiver receipt, right? Because the holders of Zimbabwe exemption permits, when instructed by government to move to other mainstream visas, and that this process required the application for a waiver for them to move, they did not disobey government. They followed what the government said. It is not Mabena who misled anyone. Like my critic says, I never went on top of a hilltop and say, apply for waivers. No. If you check all the videos in this channel, we simply have been communicating what the government of South Africa says through the Minister of Home Affairs or officials in the Department of Home Affairs. So we did not mislead anyone, right? So those individuals who are in possession of waiver receipts or have applied for mainstream visas, spouse visa, relative visa, work visa, they were granted. They are legal in the country. They also must be granted permanent residence. Because for them to have these permits, they started with the DZP. There are those after 2014 who remember in 2014, after people had renewed their ZSP between 2014 and 2017, people were not allowed to move to other visas in South Africa. There are quite a number that will go to Harare at the South African embassy to apply for critical skills visa, right? And at the time, when we were applying for a permit in the Harare at the South African embassy, the embassy will take your passport. They will keep your passport until the process was finalized. We intervened and asked the Department of Home Affairs. At that time, it was McKay, who was a deputy director. I think was deputy director for immigration. We said, Chief, this person is a holder of ZSP. Goes to Harare to apply, works in South Africa. Goes to Harare at your embassy to apply to move to a critical skills visa. You then hold their passports. what happens to them? Because they come back to South Africa illegally, they are gainfully employed. So Jackie McKay was the deputy director then for immigration, I think, said no. Uh, they instructed their embassy not to withdraw passports from ZSP holders, right? So we are saying if those individuals have not yet been granted a permanent residence because some of the skills which were listed as critical at that time are no longer listed as critical. They've been removed and they are struggling to renew, right? These individuals should also qualify. Am I making sense? I see your comments. We will certainly read your comments later on. So I'm asking a question. Am I making sense? If I'm making sense or I'm not making sense, just make your comment. Later on, I will respond to those comments so that we try and clarify where it is not clear. Otherwise, please like this video, circulate to your friends. If you are new in this platform, kindly subscribe. Otherwise, goodbye.